So, clarity eliminates confusion.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one of the, I mean, it's a phrase that sounds great on a coffee mug, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe a motivational poster in a corporate break room.
Yeah.
But in practice, like in the actual chaos of daily life.
It feels almost impossible to achieve.
Exactly. It really does.
Because usually when we feel confused, it's not because we lack information. It's because we have way too much of it, and it's all conflicting.
Right. We've all been there. You're trying to launch a new project, or maybe you're trying to get your personal finances in order, or you're starting a side hustle. And the advice you get is just always more.
Do more, buy more, scale faster.
Yes. The hustle trap. You're trying to build this beautiful penthouse suite while the foundation is still essentially mud.
And that is actually the perfect image for what we are covering today. We are looking at a framework that basically says, stop trying to build the penthouse on a swamp. You have to separate the foundation work from the skyscraper work.
Which brings us to our mission for this deep dive. We are looking at a document titled Team Building 3 by Nate Scott. He's the author of Life is Rich, and he has this really interesting concept of 2 lanes of success.
He does.
And I have to say, when I first read the outline, I was a little skeptical. It seemed kind of rigid. But the more I looked at it, the more I realized this isn't just about business. It's about human psychology.
It is entirely about psychology. Scott argues that the reason people fail, whether they are managing a household budget or, say, building a massive sales team, is that they mix up their objectives. They're basically trying to be in lane 1 and lane 2 at the exact same time.
So let's set the stage for you listening. We have lane 1, which he calls the 90-day household evaluation. And we have lane 2, which is earning the cruise.
Right.
Now, earning the cruise sounds like a vacation.
It really does.
It sounds like sipping métés on a beach. But I have a feeling it's not just a holiday.
Definitely not. In this context, the cruise is a metaphor for high-level leadership and production. But here is the critical distinction Scott makes. Lane 1 is about evidence. Lane 2 is about income.
Evidence versus income, that's really interesting because usually we judge success by the income first, right? We ask, is this making money? But Scott says you need evidence first.
Exactly. You need evidence that the underlying system actually works. If you don't have personal evidence like hard data that proves the validity of what you're doing, you can't possibly lead anyone else to do it. You're just selling smoke.
Okay, so let's look at lane 1 then, the 90-day household evaluation. This is what Scott calls system installation. And this starts with something he calls month 0, which I kind of love, by the way. It's like the preseason.
That's a great way to look at it. Month 0 is the setup phase. It's basically the first 7 days. And the goal here isn't to change your entire life overnight. It's to install a structure. You open your membership, you place an initial order, but, and this is where most people really mess up, you only replace one core category.
Just one. See, that's where my brain fights it. If I'm starting a new system, I want to overhaul everything immediately. I want to throw out every bottle under my sink and start completely fresh. Why just one?
Because that's exactly how you trigger friction fatigue. If you try to change your laundry detergent, your vitamins, your skincare, and your cleaning supplies all on a Tuesday.
By Wednesday, I'm miserable.
Exactly. By Wednesday, you're frustrated. You won't even know what's working. You'll just know that everything in your house smells different and you can't find anything you need.
That's a really good point. It's like the New Year's resolution effect. You try to change everything, you end up changing absolutely nothing.
Precisely. Scott advises picking just one category. So, laundry, cleaning, supplements, or personal care. Let's say it's laundry. Your only job in month 0 is to prove that this new laundry system works better than your old one. That's it.
Okay, so we pick laundry. We're in month 3. Then we have to set up what he calls the rituals, the monthly order date, and the weekly 60-second check-in. Now, I have to pause on the 60-second part. Be honest. Can you really do an inventory check in 60 seconds? By the time I walk to the pantry and move the dog food out of the way, 30 seconds are already gone.
It sounds aggressive, doesn't it? But think about the alternative. The alternative is the Saturday morning scavenger hunt, where you spend 20 minutes digging through different cabinets, just trying to figure out if you have enough toothpaste for the week.
Oh, that is painfully true.
The 60-second rule is a constraint designed to force organization. If it takes you longer than a minute to know what you have, your system is broken. You shouldn't be browsing your own inventory. You should just be glancing at it. It's a binary check. Do I have it? Yes or no?
So it's really about visibility. If I can't see it in 60 seconds, I'm too disorganized.
Right. And that leads us perfectly into month 1, which is stabilization. This is where we move from reactive spending to predictable ordering.
Reactive spending. I know this intimately. This is the 9 p.m. dash to the convenience store because I realized, usually way too late, that we are completely out of trash bags. And I end up paying double the price because I'm desperate.
That is exactly the pain point Lane 1 is trying to solve. In month 1, your job is to track those exact moments. You track the emergency purchases, you note what you ran out of, and you identify one friction point.
A friction point. So something that just annoyed you.
Or something that didn't work smoothly. Maybe the new bottle was hard to open. Maybe the smell was too strong. Maybe you just forgot to check the shelf during your 60-second check-in. You have to document the friction. This is all about data integrity. You are essentially collecting data on your own household habits.
It's treating your home like a small business. You're doing a legitimate audit.
Yes. And that brings us to month 2, replacement acceleration. Now that you've stabilized laundry or whatever category you picked, you ramp up. You add 1 or 2 more categories. But here is the major mindset shift. The goal is adoption, not sampling.
What's the difference there?
Sampling is dating. You're trying it out, seeing if you like it, but you're actively keeping your options open. You're still buying the old stuff just in case. Adoption is marriage. You are committing to this new supply chain. This is why Scott explicitly mentions reducing retail sources in month 2.
Reducing retail sources. So stop going to the big box store for things you can get in your structured shipment.
It's a behavioral constraint. You can't build a new system if you keep falling back on the old one. If you're still driving to 3 different stores to buy things you could get in one single box, you aren't actually saving time. You're just complicating your life.
And finally, we hit month 3, the evidence and decision phase. This feels a lot like a quarterly review in a corporate job.
It really is. You sit down and look at the spend shift. Did I save money? Did I save time? You look at your reorder patterns, and then you have to make one of 3 decisions. Maintain, modify, or discontinue.
I really appreciate that discontinue is an option. Usually in these types of team building guides, the only option is to buy more.
That's why this source material is so unique. Scott says that success equals clarity, not persuasion. If you get to month 3 and the data objectively says, this system doesn't serve my household, then discontinuing is the correct business decision. You aren't operating on hype anymore. You're operating on evidence.
And that's the end of lane 1. If you actually do this, you have a household that runs on autopilot, you have stability, you have, going back to our intro, a solid foundation.
Correct. And only then can you even start talking about lane 2.
Lane 2, earning the cruise. Now, we need to pivot here. We're leaving the laundry room and we are entering the boardroom. But the source material is very specific about this. The cruise is not a sales prize.
No, it is not. Scott defines the cruise as a leadership metric.
Okay, unpack that for us, because most people see a cruise trip and think, oh, a fun reward for selling a lot of stuff.
Think of it this way. In a standard sales contest, you can sprint. You can annoy all your friends, call in every favor, buy stuff yourself, and maybe you hit the arbitrary number and win the toaster of the trip. But the moment you stop sprinting, what happens?
It all falls apart. You completely crash.
Exactly. Scott argues that to earn this cruise, under his strict definition, you have to build a machine that produces the result automatically. The cruise is just the readout on the dashboard that tells you the engine is working properly. It's a byproduct of leadership, not a prize for exhausting effort.
So how do we actually build this engine? There are 4 operational steps in the source. Step 1 is install 20+ evaluations personally.
This ties directly back to lane 1. You need to find 20 households and guide them through that exact 90-day evaluation process we just discussed. But there is a massive warning label here in the text. No ghost accounts.
Ghost accounts. I mean, that sounds spooky, but I assume it just means fake accounts.
It's a very common problem in this industry. People get obsessed with the income lane and they try to shortcut the evidence lane. They sign up their cat.
Their cat. What?
Or they sign up their grandmother who doesn't even know what the internet is. Or, and this is most common, they sign up a friend and pay for the order themselves just to hit a rank.
Ouch. I can see why people do it, though. If you're 1 account away from a promotion, the temptation to just buy it must be huge.
Oh, it is huge. But Scott calls this essentially business suicide. Because a ghost account doesn't order next month, a ghost account doesn't adopt the system. You are building your penthouse on a sinkhole. The moment you stop propping it up with your own money, the numbers collapse.
So the strict requirement is 20 real households who are actually using the soap and the toothpaste.
Real households placing qualified orders, and this is crucial reordering. If they don't reorder, you haven't installed the system. You've just made a one-off sale.
Got it. So that's the personal work. Step 2 is where we get into leverage. Develop at least 1 to 3 leaders. And the source emphasizes depth, not just width.
This is a classic architectural concept. Width is like a field of grass. You can plant 1,000 blades of grass, meaning you sign up 1,000 people personally, but they have very shallow roots. A strong wind comes or a dry spell, and the grass just dies.
And depth.
Depth is an oak tree. Depth is when you bring someone in, and they bring someone in, and that person brings someone in. You have roots going deep into the ground. Skite says to earn the cruise, you can't just be a good recruiter. You have to be a teacher. You need 1 to 3 people who are actively doing what you do.
So if I sign up 50 people, but none of them ever sign up anyone else, I have 0 depth. I have a lot of width, but I'm doing all the heavy lifting myself.
And you will burn out. You cannot sustain cruise level volume alone. You need duplication. You need those 1 to 3 leaders who have referral accounts and are adding names daily.
This leads perfectly into step 3 and 4, rank and sustainability. The source mentions hitting specific ranks like senior director or executive director, but the key phrase that really jumped out at me was not a single spike month.
Ah, the spike month. This is the sugar rush of business.
The sugar rush. I like that analogy.
You chug an energy drink, you run a massive promotion, you hassle everyone you know, and your numbers spike vertically for 1 month. You feel like a total hero, you hit the rank. But what happens 30 days later?
The crash.
The crash. And usually the numbers drop even lower than they were before because you've exhausted your audience, you've burned your goodwill. Scott says qualifying for the cruise requires consistency over multiple months. You need a slow-burning carb, not a sugar rush. You need volume that comes from people simply brushing their teeth and washing their clothes, not from people doing you a favor.
That brings us right back to the connection between the 2 lanes. Because if your volume comes from people just doing their daily habits, which is lane 1, then it's naturally sustainable. If it comes from you shouting at people to buy stuff, it's just a spike.
That is the ultimate synthesis. That is the strategic insight of the entire document. Lane 1, the 90-day evaluation, builds stability. It is the architecture. Lane 2, earning the cruise, builds scale. That is leadership.
You can't have scale without stability.
You can try, but it will kill you. Imagine trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation meant for a garden shed. As soon as you add weight, as soon as you add new team members, the cracks start to show. The ghost accounts fall off. The spike month volume completely disappears. And you're left with nothing but stress.
It's funny, because lane 1 is the boring stuff. It's laundry lists, literally. It's checking inventory under the sink. It's tracking minor friction points. It's not sexy. Lane 2 is the sexy part. The cruise, the rank, the leadership title. But Scott is saying you earn the sexy part by mastering the boring part.
You don't earn the cruise on the ship. You earn the cruise in the laundry room.
That is a bumper sticker right there. You earn the cruise in the laundry room.
It's true. The cruise becomes a byproduct. That's the exact word Scott uses. If you focus on the architecture, the prize becomes inevitable. You don't have to chase it. You just have to build the machine that produces it.
It really flips the script on how we think about ambition. We're always taught to visualize the goal, visualize the finish line. But this framework suggests we should be visualizing the daily checklist instead.
Visualizing the finish line is fine for motivation, but it's terrible for execution. If you're staring at the finish line, you aren't looking at your feet. And if you aren't looking at your feet, you're going to trip. Lane 1 is looking at your feet.
So let's bring this home for you listening right now. Whether you are actually building a team in this specific business model or just trying to manage a complex project at work, what is a big takeaway?
The takeaway is to audit your own 2 lanes. Ask yourself, am I trying to force scale before I have stability?
Am I trying to hire 10 new employees before I've even written the training manual?
Exactly. Am I trying to run a marathon before I've bought proper running shoes? We all have a tendency to rush to lane 2 because that's where the glory is, that's where the ego gets fed. Look at how big my team is. Look at my new title.
But nobody brags about their 90-day household evaluation.
No, but the people who have the 90-day evaluation nailed down, they're the ones who are still around 5 years later. The ones who skipped it are gone. They burned out.
Clarity eliminates confusion. We started with that. And I think the confusion often comes from that mismatch, trying to get lane 2 results with lane 1 effort. Or worse, skipping lane 1 entirely.
And remember, stability is quiet. It's not flashy. A house that doesn't fall down isn't breaking news, but it's the only place you can actually live.
So here's my challenge to you. Look at the biggest project on your plate right now. Maybe it's your career, your side hustle, or even just your family organization. Stop looking at the cruise. Stop looking at the end goal for just a second.
And look at month 0.
Look at month there.
Yeah.
Have you installed the system? Do you have the evidence? Are you measuring the data, or are you just hoping for the best? Because if you can get the boring stuff right, if you can get the architecture solid, the scale will happen. It will be a byproduct.
Slow down to speed up.
Exactly. But I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. What if the repetitive, mundane tasks you are actively avoiding are the exact structural supports your dream project is missing? If you keep having to rebuild your momentum, maybe it's because you never finished pouring the concrete.
Don't build a ghost town. Build a fortress.
Build a fortress. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you on the next one.